win this battle. Let's go. Come on, Sedona. Back to work.
All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my house. Words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my house. Words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm.
All right, namaste and like etch, my family. We are here with the most beautiful Julia Kamman. We are here to crush. We are here to excite, and I'm here to teach you guys a little secret. You know, last year I went to the Disclosure Now conference out there in Tampa, and they didn't know, but I was scouting talent. And Miss Julia was some of that talent I found. Her display and talk on photonic lasers and how basically some of those old temples look more like they were etched out of stone using lasers, photonic lasers. When I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness. And then the data and pictures you had were insane. Like, you did all your research and you're like, how about this? After you've seen the 25th photo, you're like, okay, it's photonic lasers. It's photonic lasers. We got it. No. But with that being said, Julia, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I'm happy to be here. I'm blessed to have met you. I'm super excited about the conference.
Right. So we have some things in common. You know, I believe a lot of the stuff that's coming out right now. I don't know if have you. I'm sure you have. Have you seen those new videos of that one company that's etching? It's like basically 3D etching like marble statues, and the lasers are cutting it out of stone, and then the guys just kind of going afterwards and polish it up. I think that there's missing technology from our history.
It fascinates me that nuclear scientists like successfully created matter directly from light, and it involves using like a powerful like particle accelerator
Mm-hmm.
to accelerate beams of gold ions close to the speed of light, creating these electromagnetic fields around the ions. And so these fields generate the real photons. And when the gold ions pass by each other without colliding, the photons interact to create electrons, which are matter, and positrons, antimatter. And so the fact that creation of matter from light through real photon interactions, which is crazy because it actually validates a prediction that in the 30s called the Briot-Wheeler effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it theorized that matter could be created from light through photon interactions. So the whole of like looking into photons, and it's fascinating of the things we've done. I feel like we were much more advanced a long time ago than where we're at now.
Yeah. Listen, let's just take the whole audience and everyone from here to South Africa, take it slow. Why don't you discuss, some of the greatest findings you have found that kind of symbolizes some of the technology we used to have and that we are slowly like moving towards remembering now. You know what I mean? Because people want to know, like, well, what kind of technology did we used to have? What sort of things could we build? Why is there so much differentials from the stonework we do now compared to in the past? And I think that you figured out a lot of very interesting correlations with, I don't know, for me, and I've been staring at this stuff, it almost just seems like different vocabulary terms are exactly the same thing. I mean, you know what I mean? There's just different words for the technology they're using. What specific things would you like to share right now that you're studying and that correlate with some of that technology being disclosed?
Well, I think for me, the gateway, that's why I would start out by talking about Tartaria, because Tartaria, just diving into that information is like this gate that opens you up and ties a lot of this information. And so, if Tartary was an empire that existed on maps, and it was the largest empire on maps. And there's even a map from 1652 that shows Tartary and North America being under like the same empire. And then, like around 1812, Grand Tartary is replaced by the Russian Empire. And then by 1860, Chinese Tartary is the Chinese Empire. It just kind of like disappeared. Like this large empire just disappeared, and it was its own country with its own flag and its own government, and it had a ton of land. And if you look into the land there, I mean, it's so rich in resources. I'm always guided, like, I don't know why I'm always guided to like look around Siberia at helium and hydrogen production, but the territory was huge and they had a lot of rich resources, and but somehow it's like quietly incorporated into Russia and other countries. And they had a flag and a crest, and the flag it had an owl depicted on it, and the emperor's flag had a griffin with a yellow background. And they mention in 1957, there's a CIA document that says, in other words, Tartar history was to be rewritten, let us be frank, was to be falsified in order to illuminate references to great Russian aggressions and to hide the facts of a real course of Tartar Russian relations. And then there's like an encyclopedia from the 1700s, 1771, that mentions, from the Urals of Alaska, from New York to Tibet, Tartaria was a great country in northern Asia, bounded by Siberia in the north. And it goes into like detail about it, because there's a lot of people that just say, this is just a psyop, or it's not real, or this is, nonsense. And, the Great Wall of China it's facing the wrong direction. So it may have been not built by the Chinese to keep the barbarians out, but by the Tartarians to keep out the Chinese. And, the openings on the wall are on the north side facing the former Tartary, not on the south side, like China facing side. So, and Putin, even in 2017, he gifted like the president of um, Tatarstan.
Mhm.
He had the map from the 17th century, which shows Tartary and how large of an empire it was. But the thing is like they had this. You look at these cathedrals and you see the building of these structures, and even like the largest megaliths in the world that are bigger than the Montana ones, bigger than any other place, is in Siberia.
Right.
And so, of like, how did they create this? What did they know? So, and how did they carve this? Which for me, I wanted, I wanted like to entertain, like I see things, but I want to be able to explain what
Right.
I feel it was. So looking into lasers. So, what is a quantum photonic laser? It's an advanced type of level that operates at the quantum level, and so it can manipulate individual photons, and in a precise and very controlled way, unlike traditional lasers, which emit a powerful beam of light. A quantum photonic laser uses quantum mechanics to control how light interacts with matter at like an atomic and molecular level. So, yeah, like imagine like think of like a scalpel or a sword made of pure energy, and instead of cutting with a physical blade, it cuts by manipulating the bonds between atoms and the material, which I'm theorizing, would be stone.
Right.
So, and then just the fact that like other lasers, they use gas, and like fiber lasers use like optical fibers and ultraviolet light, and like I just felt like it was something worth looking into of possibly is that what it was, because they were definitely more advanced. I mean, you look at these structures and you see the carvings, it would need to be very 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 controlled.
To me, they had me at the doors of these cathedrals. The doors are 30 feet high. The latches are 20 feet high. I mean, who the heck puts a door lock, you know what I mean, in a cathedral, some of these buildings where the latch is 30 feet in the air? So I think what they were trying to do, not just Tartary, but I think there was a big cover up. We know this is Smithsonian. Every single time you find giant bones, they're the first ones on site to take them off. There is an active thing with, I believe, the giants, and I believe Tartary. I believe it was one and the same. I believe it was an empire. I think it was an empire that reigned over the entire planet.
I
And
know. I mean,
even
it doesn't necessarily mean they were benevolent. I mean, they could have been like
oh yeah,
the fallen angels,
yeah, they could have been
like
a pain
the
in the
product of
ass.
it. Yeah, they could.
I mean, I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying they're. I'm not saying they were good. I'm just trying to say that something was there. Another thing too that struck a chord when you were talking about that was the griffins. Now there is memoirs from Spanish sailors coming from the south up towards the Gulf. I mean, sorry, the Southern California, and there's like journals where these guys are writing in their journals, going, "There are giants walking on the ridge line staring at us." And
Yeah.
Queen Calafia, remember her whole deal was the griffin. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get so excited talking about Queen Calafia. I mean,
Yeah,
there's all
she's the
these
bomb. I
different
just yeah,
there
yeah.
are all these different sailors that are talking about trading minerals and stones and these magnificent jewels with these women that are just like these Amazonian warrioresses that fly on griffins. They have a ton of gold and jewels, and when they have a son, like they give a son, which kind of reminds me of Castor's Keep and Game of Thrones. You know how he had all those women, and they would give the boys to the Nightwalker. But they had it was an all women society, and there were a bunch of baddies flying around on griffins. And there's all these different reports of it, and they say that's why California is called California. And Catalina, I believe there's like a there's so much UFO, USO activity around there. And they talk about how, I mean, there was all these giant bones that were found on the island. And Ralph Giddens, like, he dedicated his life to pulling up those bones and, getting them to museums. And, then the Wrigley family bought the island. But just the fact that they said they were blue-eyed, blonde hair giants. And so I like to flirt with the idea that they were gatekeepers of this portal that's there, and that they would oversee that. And the, what was it? Oh, I lost my train of thought. Darn it.
No, it's all good. I also
There's
would
so
like
much I
to
want to
think.
say.
No,
Huh?
listen. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Julia is a gangster when it comes to this stuff. You just got to get her going. Here we go. You got to boot her up. She has all that data stored in there. No, the thing about it is, for me, you're in California right now, right? This is what a lot of people want to know. Where is that Stargate? Where is the gate in California? Where is it?
The one in and around Catalina?
Well, I'm saying that a lot of people were saying that there's a lot of channelers coming out that this whole fire thing, yeah, it could have been for the train. Yeah, it could have been for a land grab. But also some were saying that it was to subvert the ascension process, because there is one of the main like 7 gates on Earth, or 13 gates, is out there in that area.
Well, the fact that California used to, was an island on maps for a long time, and that they say that California is actually Lemuria, that's Lemuria, or, some people think it's a little more west. And so from what I understand, there's like a triangle from like Camp Pendleton, like a little bit north of Camp Pendleton, to a little bit past Catalina to Long Beach Port. And there's that's where they come up, like all the underground bases, Dolce, all of that, like they come up from under the water in this like triangle large area. And
Right.
and so for it to be in and around that area, I don't know. There's so much activity around Catalina, and Toyin Bay is, wait, is it Thomas J. Brown? He was a wizard. He was in the Navy and he helped create like 0 point energy crafts. Like he was amazing. And he would do remote viewing, and they had him target Toyin Bay. That was like a well-known target, and that he even moved there. And I think he was buried there. So I wanted to, I would love to I should look into remote viewing that spot. But I mean, I'm so close to Catalina. I'm like right here.
Oh yeah, 100%. What maybe we should tell the audience, your remote viewing skills. Like, not only is she a data researcher, you find things that are interesting, and you have the ability to jump over there. You want
Right.
to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I do remote viewing. It's, traveling clairvoyance. And I actually did a show. Vice found me and I did a show. They had me remote view. They want to do a show on Inner Earth. And I'm passionate about Inner Earth, very passionate. So they wanted my family on it, and my family said absolutely not. So I referred them to this guy that's brilliant. His name is Andreas Andreas Nicholas, but his YouTube channel is Exertus, Xirtus, and he is brilliant. Like his dad worked for Lockheed and grandpa did. His mom's like an OBGYN, but I think NASA recruited him young, and he has like a photographic memory, and he got like a nanotechnology degree at a young age. But anyway, so I referred, and he's hilarious. You would love him. He's a Pisces like you, Rion. And I referred the show to him, and then they had me remote view a location, and like the wildest things happened. Like when they had me do that, and it's on a show on Vice. But yeah, remote viewing, I think, is the answer to a lot. I teach people how to remote view. I think it's, especially the days that the things that are coming and everything, like it's going to be really helpful to have accurate, because I realize there's a lot of people that say they remote view, and then I get very excited and then I see that it's not accurate. So, but there are some really accurate ones, but I look, yeah, I seek accuracy.
This is a fun thing to talk about since you're a remote viewer. Okay, let's go tick for tack. Some of the greatest security and ETs, possibly, could be humans for you too, that you have bumped into. For me, when I remote viewed the base in Alaska, not and I just got back from Alaska last, I don't know, it was 5 months ago when we did this cruise, Contact at Sea. I gridded the hills, but I've been to Alaska previously to that, but that was Zetas protected that area. There are very large ETs. When I jumped into that base and I started walking around, it's almost like they lock on. It's almost like Skynet, if you want to imagine.
Yeah.
As soon as you go through the barriers, it's like it's like ping, like the alarm goes off, and you got 2 or 3 guys coming at you, and they're scanning you. And, honestly, with me, I'm just like, hey, dude, I'm just here. Like, I'm a traveler. I'm here to check shit out. Like, I don't work for like a foreign government. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just here to like look inside the mountain. Like, what's going on over here? What are you doing over here? Like, what's going on over here? There's a lot of no man's land out there, which people really need to kind of, comprehend. When you take that cruise, you guys ever do a cruise to Alaska and you leave out of Seattle and you head north and you go past Canada and then you hit like the Alaskan border, you're looking out the port window and it's just miles upon miles and upon miles of nothing. I'm going to tell you what I saw. Three things. One, there are huge underground societies and civilizations under the ground up there. Okay, so I don't know what particularly went down when they created the national parks, but it was almost like, hey, we already have vested interest in this area. And I don't know, the U.S. president, I don't know who it was, maybe Teddy, I forget who it was like, okay, these are national parks, no one go over there. But mantids are very prevalent. I don't know why more people don't talk about them. There was mantid civilizations, there were reptilian, and there were, I want to say grays, but they were more like zetas. It was more of a higher class. So, but there were like, it's hard to explain this to people. It's like under the ground, there are civilizations older than we've been on this planet. You know what I mean? It's like longer than 200, like older than 200,000, whatever plus years.
Dude, my mom, my mom lived in Yosemite for a long time up until a few years ago. And I made a meme a few years ago that was like, national parks should be called like dimensional portals, like terminals, of there's all different accounts of these people that are in national parks. And then they kind of describe it the same, where they say it like opens up and there's different lighting, and then they go, when they're there, the lighting's different and they have these different experiences, but those are the people that survive. Some of them are not so lucky, but there's so much activity there. And actually, for that show on Vice, when they had me remote view location, there was I did encounter an entity, like a different being. Its head was kind of like shaped. It was kind of like heart shaped. It kind of reminded me of Little Nicky. How it was like the boob head.
Yeah,
it was like it wasn't as like prominent boobs, but it was like rounded, like almost rounded like that.
Let them know, they'll follow you home. They follow you home. Like
I know, this is why I don't look into a ton of things, because
they'll follow you home. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember my the reaction I had was like someone had just pulled a gun on me, of like the rush of adrenaline, the cortisol just being flooded with it. But it had taken me a bit to get in. It slowly turned around and looked, it knew when I was in there, and it slowly turned around and its arms were kind of like this. Mm-hmm. And it was like looking at me, and it was kind of like, I felt like it was kind of like, it didn't telepathically say, but I felt it was kind of like, how did she get in here? And it was like, and I remember my heart is racing. I'm feeling a flood of these, adrenaline, and just like almost like your hair standing in the back, like on, standing up, and you have that frightful fear, like this could go bad, like your life's in danger. And I was like, I'm not going. I'm not leaving, because I wanted to. I finally got in. I wanted to look around, and I got to tell this show the information. So, yeah, it's crazy. But it also made me, with some other targets too. It also made me, what do you want to peek into, and is it worth it? Like, because it is a two-way street, and when you do look at some things, it opens you up, and it's like, well, why? And not only that, but there's certain things that are authorized to be discussed and not authorized. So if you want like a high level of accuracy, you want to be able to do this, but that doesn't mean you can. It's not for everybody. There's certain things that are guarded and earned, or there's a timing of unfolding that. Yes.
Clearance. You have to have clearance. So this is cool. Let's teach everybody something cool. Okay, this is awesome, because I didn't really talk about the stuff that like we do behind the scenes, but this is like, okay, now this is like the superhero shit. Okay, all the 3D photonic lasers. Let's talk about some dope superhero shit. Okay, so I can say, okay, I've been kicked off the moon 3 times. Do you ever jump to the moon?
Yeah.
Okay, so we used to go there. I thought it was funny to like whoop on dudes and like break in and like try to get in the computer system. Yeah, I used to do this all the time. Right when I first kind of got my powers, about, I don't know, 10 years ago. And then eventually my highest light grabbed me, and he's like, literally grabbed me like, hey, you have to pick a target of greater distance. So, imagine you guys are like, I want the OBE. My highest light grabbed me and said, you can't jump to the moon anymore. You have to pick a target of greater distance. It's too close. So I'd sit there in the backyard up on the vortexes at night in Sedona, and I would just jump. with like dubstep in my ears, just like jump and then like run around and like see if I could find shit. And then I just did this every night like it was a workout. Obviously, we're not normal, me and you, Julia, but I'm trying to say like this was something I used to normally do. So that being said, it wasn't until I kind of unlocked some more of my DNA. And when I had some more scuffs with some reptilian dudes in Serpent Mounds, Ohio, and some of the things we used to do, that I wonder if you do this. This is why I'm asking. Do you ever drop rank? So what I'll do is I'll call my higher self down into the suit, and I'll flash in my. So imagine this is my 3D face, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your energy face is way bigger because you're a much bigger being, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I slip down into my higher self, will slip into the suit, and I'll flash a Lyran, like half my Lyran face with the ear and like the fur and shit, and I'll look at the dude like, I do have clearance. This is my vessel. You know what I mean? And they'll go like this. Yes, sir. So I'm telling you, don't try to do it as a human. You got to pull in your higher self into the suit. That's who has the clearance, not Julia. Your soul signature has the clearance. So I'm just trying to tell you, there's a little, hey, I didn't know that. I'm like, no. Drop your higher self in the suit. Your energy face gets huge. Morph into that version of yourself and go, I'm here to check out the caverns. Access granted. It's like a whole different, and then you're like, oh yeah, like, and then you get in. So I'm trying to say they won't let a lower consciousness who's just curious in. But it's like going to a military base. All of a sudden, all the guards are on you, and you're like, hey, bro, back up. You're like, you flash a badge. You're like, listen, we're all pretending. Calm down. I'm here to go check some shit out. Once you guys back up, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm trying to say for you, I think if you don't do that, you definitely should try that.
I'm going to try it. That's a key.
You definitely have access to do it. If you can do it, you already have the clearance. Now, it's just kind of how, it's weird. It's like the more evolved we get, it's like the more graceful you become, the more like you have to know the password. You have to have the key. It's like the same difference between someone knowing how the combination on a safe. You're like, hold on a second. And it's welcome. Or some jackasses with like TNT and dynamite, like what they're trying to do in the arcs. We're just going to blow the door. It's like, have some class. Have some class. All I'm trying to say. So let's hear one of your stories. I like this. What's some cool stuff that you've gotten into?
Like target wise?
Yeah, well, target wise, but like, what's some things you think like everyone would be interested in? Like, okay, I went in this place. This is what I saw that was really cool. Or these are the types of species of beings. Because with me, most of the beings I interact with, I don't allow them to wear a mask. Do you know about the masks? Right. So I'll tell everyone out there on Earth too. Okay, I'll tell you this too. This is I want to hear your stuff, but the mask game. Okay, so basically, I'll give you an example of how I learned this. So I'm camping at my buddy's like outdoor yurt area about 4 hours east of here in Arizona. And he has like one of those like off-grid communities, and it's like super dope. So anyways, I go to bed out there in this yurt, and I wake up to a bunch of Native Americans around my yurt. I'm in the middle of like nowhere, mind you, but it's all off-grid and bougie, right? So I'm out there. And basically, I was in some Native American 5D heaven, like forest, rivers. River ran through it. I'm sitting there walking around with all these Native American dudes, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, I get this weird inclination. I was like, "You guys aren't really Native American, are you?" Kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, I was like, "Wait a minute!" I'm like, and they all kind of like, I could tell. What I could tell, what's the best giveaway is how a being turns its head. These guys like turn their head and they have like there's like a different diagonal. It's like sugar water. You know what I mean? It's like there's some sort of angle. They're like, oh. And I said, hey, bro, listen, I don't care what species you are. You don't got to hide around me. And they all kind of looked at each other. And all of a sudden, all the masks came off and they're just straight mandible like mantids. Hominid just sitting there like, this is what we really look like. We didn't think your little brain, could take it. I'm like, hey, I know. Hey, listen, I get it. don't do that to the normal population. I was like, you'll cook them, but I was like, I can take it.
The mantis is like their psi abilities. It's like
Are insane.
I love of like they're like the anesthesiologist of psi abilities. Like they
They're
could
deep.
straight numb you, like whatever they want. They're so powerful. What do you
Yeah.
think of the mantis?
I'd say 60% cool, 20% neutral, 20% nah. I say there's about 20%. I don't know if it was. See, this is the problem we have down here with the different like groups and the Galactic Federation, obviously, and then you have some of the Orion Empire dudes, or
It
these
just seems
groups.
like the ones that they operate on, like it's almost like if AI had soldiers, or like have these bodies that they're operating on its system like it's not souls. And I'm very fascinated by like soul technology,
Right.
how souls work, the way, the type of soul that's brought in, and it has to, of what when it's created, and just all of that really fascinates me.
The Arcturians say that the original word AI was supposed to be humanoid, and it was a ninth dimensional construct of advanced intelligence. Down here, they have, just like they do with many symbols and terminologies, now it's called artificial intelligence. But from the human soul perspective, the Arcturian, like on the positive polarity, the AI stood for advanced intelligence, and it was for like a soul's advancement from a ninth density to compress that type of a conscious into a 3D popsicle suit like the ones we're sitting in, or 4D at this point. So, anyways, even the word AI, I feel, has been kind of misused. Just that term is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't even know what to call it. The best description from what I understand was like we're connected to like a organic intelligence, that
Yeah.
our pineal can be like a satellite to receive the source, right? To
Mhm.
connect to that field, but that there's a mechanical version that's trying to duplicate that version.
Copy. Mm-hmm.
And so that I don't know how else to describe it besides like art of AI, that there's a or Christ consciousness and organic intelligence and OI, organic intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's this mechanical, colder version that's trying to duplicate that. And it's like, well, what can access what? I mean, the lines get a little blurry, but yeah, trying to duplicate that field. So I don't know another word to say for artificial or mechanical
You know,
intelligence.
I like to say soul over soul, different dimensions, different realities, bandwidths. Every bandwidth is a dimension. Every density would be considered the radio tower on that density 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, 5D. Different density radio towers that have operational bandwidth controls into different dimensions. The higher the density radio tower, the more bandwidths or aptitudes you have access to as a transceiver. That's kind of how I see it.
I was talking about uh like demonic sigils being very
Mm,
like circuit boards and demonic sigils looking
right.
similar,
Mhm.
and that the sigils, like they look like kind of like the lesser key of Solomon. And
You
I
got
found it
the.
really
Mhm.
interesting that Jordy Rose, he spoke, he's had like the D-Wave computer,
Mhm.
quantum computer, and he he was saying it's used to open portals, like how the D wave quantum computer is used to open portals to communicate with other entities or forces, and
Right.
that they don't necessarily want us like bothering them, and that they tap into parallel universes and do computations. And so him saying that like the things we're summoning into the world now are not demons, not evil, but they're more like Lovecraftian like great old ones, and that they're entities that they're not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So
Mhm.
it's
For me, I had to learn this a long time ago. I keep this thing as simple as salt and pepper. I don't get confused. I am like very simple with this. Like, so my left side of my body, I'll teach you this. Julia, let me teach you salt and pepper. Okay, no. Left side, receiving side. My heart's on my left. You split me right down the middle. my heart side, my light side. Like I always tell people, there's a, your sternum. It always feels kind of like weird. Like, what is that? Feels kind of weird. Soul sits on the other side of that. Okay, my here. I have a model. Imagine there's my sternum, and here's the cables coming up off my body. One on the left. I know it might be reversed on this camera. This is my left side. This is my right side. Okay. Heart's on my left. This is my receiving. This is my light. This is my yin. Now, me personally, I am a yankster. Okay, I was like someone who walked on the night side, like woke up in the light when I was a kid, got activated, had to clean up a lot of bullshit, had to activate that fire, that night side to deal with it, and then kind of came back into balance. I got to be real. I'm a bad boy, Julia. No, what I'm trying to say.
I get it. I'm not all lovey Rio.
I know you are. So no. Listen. Listen. I want my inner child to hear this too. Okay, so what I'm getting to with the salt and pepper. Whenever I interact with a being, I don't care who they are, I don't care what they look like, I don't care what outfit they're wearing or what symbol, whatever. I just say real simple, put your hands out. And they're like, huh? I'm like, are you service to self? I'm sorry, are you service to others, left hand? Are you service to self? Choose. And they're like, they'll look at you like, what the fuck? Hey, dum-dum, one more time. Are you service to others, left side, or are you service to self? Pick which hand. And they'll go, okay, service to others. Let's just say, here, let me go widescreen on this. Okay, here we go. And they go, service to others. Okay, great. Light side. Okay. My second question is, are you Federation? I'm sorry, or Earth Alliance is usually what I say. I don't get confused with the Federation thing. Are you here to help human beings, left side? Or are you Federation, or Confederation, I should say, which is all the weird harvester species that came in here. I let them choose. My third question, which is always the one I kind of lean in on, is what is your motivation for interacting with my vessel? Why are you here? So I have those 3 bullet point questions whenever I interact with any species. And in literally 30 seconds, because when I was on mission, dude, doing stuff, I didn't have time to have a conversation. I had to go salt or pepper, cook them. Like, it was not like are you part of the good team?
Excuse me, sir.
You guys ever been in like a freaking spiritual combat fight? It's not like that. It's not like that when you're like, they're running after you, trying to get you. Are you part of the good squad? No, you don't have all that time to do that. So for me, it was salt and pepper. So for the rest of my life, and since then, I've just been, hey, cool, man. Are you salt or pepper?
I mean, there's 455 exabytes of data in 1 gram of DNA. That's a lot of information, and that's a lot of data that's inside of us. And so, and that's dormant too. So certain practices and things that we could do to access that and bring that to the surface is super helpful. I talk a lot about, parasites. And that is just
Detoxing.
so important. Yeah, of just like for clarity, essentially, because parasites, they steal your serotonin, and they're able to morph. Like when they have this ability to identify any agent being used against them and change their own DNA and become resistant within like 5 to 7 days. So the pleomorphism. And I was on a panel one time at a conference, and I was like, alien invasion, it's happening right now. And I was like, if you looked at a parasite on a microscope and you had a look at them, they look alien, and they're able to morph, the pleomorphism, and they're able to steal from you, and they're able to trick and send signals to your mind demanding certain things that are not good for you. But they love sugar. There's a lot of people that will try to quit drinking alcohol, and they struggle with it, and sometimes it's a parasite thing. If they were to treat the parasite, it would help them stay off of that, or stay off of sweets, or certain sugars or lifestyle habits. And it's just parasitology, fungal pathology was removed out of the med schools by 79. And so all these doctors, people are going to the doctor with these issues, and it's not being treated. They're not educated. And so if it's like, oh, I want to remote view, I want to do some things, or I want to high performance, like we should be functioning on a higher performance, and we're being bombarded the air now of like what they're putting in it. I won't go into full I don't want to get demonetized of like super crazy stuff,
No.
but
So here's
just
the
like
thing. Yeah.
just that to combat a lot of these things that are in our food and everything, like just do a parasite cleanse every 6 months. It's really simple. You do it every fall and spring. I mean, like in the 30s, the moms knew about it, the grandmothers knew about it every fall and spring. And it's a practice that needs to be implemented again. And watch your energy levels, watch your workout levels, watch your clarity, the mental clarity, the psychic abilities that it's more crystal clear.
Which one do you recommend has for which ones do you use? And is there links to those on your website?
Yeah, well, on my website, I could put up links on my website. It's not there right now. If you're starting and you're like really a good starter would be Dr. Hulda Clark. Like it's just because it's simple and you probably can have access to it and everything. The ivermectin combined with the fenbendazole is
Mhm.
amazing. Like, and there's more serious ones, but I would like that's a good starter, and also doing like a heavy metal cleanse and then doing a liver flush, like having your Andreas Moritz has an amazing liver flush recipe that you could just make and do at home. And especially if you want to lose weight, like if you're not losing weight or you're struggling to lose weight, it has a lot to do with your liver and how your liver is functioning. So I highly recommend doing a liver flush regardless.
I bloat like Santa Claus when I eat regular bread. Like I'm so
It's the
gluten.
glyphosate. It's
No,
not
it's
the
aggressive.
gluten,
I
man.
know,
It's
I
the
know.
glyphosate.
Listen, I know. And I was like, I bloat because I'm being poisoned. You know what I mean? My body doesn't want to be, the glyphosates just poison you. It just, your body reacts to it and you swell just like anything else. So, I mean, they want to call it this, but, hopefully with Bobby Jr., Kennedy Jr. coming in and kicking some ass and bringing
Oh, I
peptides.
love that fluoride is being removed out of the water. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
In
Well,
Florida,
imagine.
like,
Hmm?
thank you, Florida. This is amazing
No, these are
because
big times.
we take showers. Like, there's some like a water filter system in your house is like it's like imperative these days
You
of
have,
the microorganisms, the things that are in the water. And
yes.
clean water is like our first order, I feel like should be our first order of business. And that's the thing is like with the dark, like of what we're combating, I give my hat off to them. And like, dude, it's impressive because they're organized and they come together, and regardless of their differences, they're organized and they have goals. And so until the other side or a combating side, like how are you going to go up against that with no order or structure or things involved? So like to take a cue from that book and get organized and let's get efficient.
I don't know how these guys are getting away with any of this because outside of this place, a lot of this behavior is not tolerated. And it's very interesting for some of the star seeds, angelics, and the 144 here. It does make me feel a little confused at times that such strange behavior is allowed. Knowing that
Yeah.
where we come from, this entire planet, everything here is allowed to exist. It's
Right.
not. It's not
I'm
a
always
given.
wonder who's authorizing this. It
Yeah.
feels like there's been some like there's some
Mm,
few like there's some things that like it's like that there's
uh,
no way this would be authorized. Like there's no way.
I feel like Mel
So
Gibson right now, and you're Joe Rogan. I'm like, yeah, ivermectin. Yeah, these guys. No, he's like, yeah. No, he did a great job. We love you, Mel, wherever you are out there. We love you, Mel. There's a lot of positive things happening on this earth, and at this conference, what I want to do is bring together a like minds. Number one. Number two, it was really like a Marvel team huddle up with everyone here that's going to be speaking has a very specific skill set. We have a very specific set of skills. And my thing is that when you put us all together, if you're planning on coming, dude, bring the person that is curious or bring the person that's just waking up. The amount of intel and data that will be in that room will be intense. Not to mention JP, right, from the military, inside military guy who's speaking, he's still activational now. He still has access to intel. So having beings like that around us and giving us the real story. Here's the thing. Everyone on this planet has the same amount of energy as everyone else. And the one thing I'd like to remove is a lot of the falsities and poor behaviors and deceptions out of the way, because there's a lot of new intel to uptake. There's a lot of new things to learn. It's already difficult enough to go, okay, we've been lied to. Okay, these people lied to us. Okay, now it's like, well, what's the information I should know? Okay, so what are the questions I should ask? Okay, what are some of the concepts I should understand or understand, right? I don't have time for running my CPU and my subconscious at 99% block bullshit, right? To let in 1% of truth. I want to be around a bunch of people that have already done their research, have already vetted this stuff, and that are sharing the information they have found. And
Right. Because I want to encourage people too to like create like, okay, healthy water solutions. There's a ton of business ideas right there that you could be abundant and help humanity and create, whether it's water filters or different water solutions to drink out of, or, that doesn't have BPA in it, or just inventions you could do with, just things that could benefit, coming up with your own, like tinctures and your own brand of parasite of herbs that can help the parasite cleanse, or frequencies, like messing around with creating devices that, with people that can help facilitate things that can help our health, you know? So I encourage that inventor mind, because look, we're heading into a different world, and we need solutions.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Well, Julia, I'm excited. Did you want to share a little bit about what you may be sharing in your presentation at Rise of the Guardians conference?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I'm going to be talking about the quantum photonic laser, of that perhaps being the what was used to create these ancient, amazing structures, and what that is, and quantum tunneling, because I think that there's so much information related to that, of that is just absolutely mind blowing, because
Mm.
water, I believe, is the mediator between physicality and the zero point energy of the quantum field. So there's a lot of fascinating things with even the Oak Ridge lab. They made a discovery they found that water molecules can quantum travel, like when trapped inside of a tight six-sided hexagonal quartz structure. And
Okay.
so just applying that to our cerebral spinal fluid, that is inside of us, and that stores light and transmits vibration and light. And so that being important for practices like meditation, and of what's happening with your cerebral spinal fluid, and how to help bring that up to facilitate, you know, amazing information. So at the conference, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be
Yeah.
rad. No, it's going to be absolutely awesome. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, just know that we love you guys very much. March 29th, March 30th, 2025, the Rise of the Guardians conference takes place in Sedona, Arizona. We will also have post-conference spots available, and we'll talk to Miss Julia about if she wants to do a post-conference. But with that, ladies and gents, come out, meet your family. And Julia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on our show
Thank
today.
you.
All right. Till next time. Peace.
Thor! We need your help to win this battle. Let's go. Come on, son. Back to work.
All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my house. Words Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. All I wanted, all I ever needed is here in my house. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm.